There's probably a limit to how many watches you should own. Like, a reasonable number. I'm sure I'm still under it. Oops, another watch.
Welcome back to Oops, Another Watch. This time I decided to take a bit of a gamble on a huge mystery watch lot from a Finnish auction site. 275 euros, a very heavy box, and it looks like the seller added quite a few bonus items. Did I just strike gold or completely overdo it? Let's find out. Straight away this looks better than expected. There are extra bracelets, watch catalogs, and actually more watches than I paid for. That's a nice gesture from the seller. Okay, let's see what kind of treasures we have in the box. First watch out of the box is this 80s Citizen quartz. Simple dial, clean layout, and just a really basic everyday kind of watch. Serial starting with 40, so this should be from 1984. Value-wise, you're probably looking at around $20 without the bracelet. Nothing crazy, but a nice start. Next watch. This one's a bit more on the chunky side. More time chronograph, big case, thick bezel, and a lot going on the dial. Definitely more of a budget sporty piece. Value-wise, this is probably around $5. Next watch is an older Leijona mechanical. Simple dial, classic layout, but quite worn overall. It doesn't wind, so it's currently not running. Value-wise, around $5 in this condition. Seiko quartz, smaller case, and more of a dress style with that beautiful integrated bracelet. Really elegant design actually. Very classic Seiko look. Serial starting with 95. So that puts this at 1989. Now I've seen these listed for around $200 on Etsy, but realistically they tend to sell closer to $40 on eBay. Still, a nice little piece. This one is a cheap looking generic quartz watch. Value wise, probably $1 at best. But I might actually reuse that bracelet for something else. Now this is a bit nicer. Citizen with a square case and that simple mirror-edged minimal dial. Very classic design. These always wear pretty well. You'll see these listed anywhere from $30 to $100, but this is about a $40 watch if you want to sell it quickly. But yeah, nice clean piece. Next up we've got a Rado Jubilee. Black case, black dial, and a more modern dress style. Condition looks pretty decent, just some wear here and there. I've seen these listed around $100 to $200 on eBay, but I'm not really sure about the actual value or authenticity here. So let me know in the comments if this looks real. For now, I'll just value this at around $20. Now this is something a bit different. A Seiko watch. Soviet era brand, and they made a lot of smaller mechanical pieces, often with more decorative styles like this. Definitely stands out compared to everything else here. In its current condition, you're looking at around $20. Alright, next up we've got a Tiger watch. This is actually a Finnish market brand, probably from around the 1960s. Condition on this one is pretty rough. Case wear, dirty crystal, and overall just seen a lot of life. In this condition, this is about a $10 watch. But still, nice bit of local watch history. Citizen with an alarm feature. Clean, minimal dial, and that alarm function, which is always a nice extra. Condition is passable. Serial starts with 703, so 1997. This is a rarer model. You'll sometimes see higher prices, even around $80. But realistically, around $15 is where this sits. A small Seiko. This is a dress watch with a black dial and gold tone case. Nice clean layout, and the plating is actually in fairly good condition overall. Serial starts with 468, so that puts this at June 1994. Value-wise, being a Seiko, this is probably around $20. A small pocket watch. Seems to be a generic Chinese piece with a simple white dial. This feels cheap in the hand and nothing like an actual vintage pocket watch. Value, maybe $4 if you're lucky. Not a fan of these cheap watches. Candino. Nice looking piece with what seems to be a green dial. Candino is a Swiss brand known for making reliable and fairly affordable watches, so definitely a step up from some of the generic ones. This one looks to be from the 1970s. There's even an engraving from 1979. Condition-wise, there's a pretty big crack on the crystal, so that definitely needs to be replaced. In good condition, these can be around $50, but factoring in the crystal replacement, I'd say for me this is closer to around $30. Still, a nice vintage piece. Adek, a simple dress watch with a cream dial and Arabic numerals. Adek is a sub-brand of Citizen, so you're getting a Japanese quartz movement inside. Still a budget piece overall. Value, perhaps $5. Small women's dress watch Citizen with a black dial and gold tone accents. Nice details on the dial and on the bracelet. Adds a bit of character. Condition is, I would say, fair. Looks like a 90s Citizen. Value, around $10. This one is a Casio Telememo 20. Classic digital Casio with built-in memory function. You could actually store phone numbers in these back in the day. Pretty high-tech at the time. These are from the late 80s into the 90s, and this model is starting to become a bit rare. If it's fully working, these can be around $60, but in this condition, probably closer to $35. Still, a really cool nostalgic piece. Hugo Max. Classic dress style with a black dial, Roman numeral bezel, and a date window at 6. Looks quite nice at first glance, but this is more of a fashion watch than anything else. Not a particularly well-known or collectible brand. Value for this? I'd say this is a max $15 watch. Looks nice, but nothing too special. Here we've gotten another local watch from Finland, titanium case and sapphire crystal. Very clean, practical design. Condition is quite good, but the date window frame is loose and needs to be re-glued. Value around $10. Citizen quartz with a day date and a clean looking dial. Classic everyday watch design, very simple and practical. Condition is quite worn, the plating has worn off in some places and the bracelet has seen better days. Value wise, this is about $15. Still, a usable everyday watch. Gucci, but it says Guggi, so yeah, not quite the same thing. $1 feels about right. Still looks decent though. This one's a bit interesting. Analog dial with a digital window, but yeah, very generic overall. Condition is quite rough, seen a lot of use. If it works, maybe $3. Watch bracelet. Looks like WK or maybe WWK. Not entirely sure about the brand. Seems to be new old stock, still on the original card, but with some storage scuffs. Nothing particularly special, just a basic bracelet. Value? I'd guess around $3. Might come in handy for another watch. A Citizen automatic with 17 jewels, and that green dial looks fantastic with those applied markers. Inside is the Citizen 6000 series movement, an automatic mechanical movement used from the early 70s onwards, and it is available in both 17 and 21 jewel versions. These are known to be solid and reliable movements, so this is definitely a good quality piece. There is some wear on the case and on the bracelet, but overall it's in pretty good condition for its age. This is quite easily around $100. Really nice find. Orient quartz diver style. Nice design, but yeah, this one's been through a lot. Good thing is that it has a battery and it's already running. Bezel is heavily worn, the crystal is busted, and overall the condition is rough. That said, this case shape is actually quite sought after, so there's definitely some potential here. As it sits, maybe $20 to $30. But cleaned up properly, this is probably closer to a $40 watch. Admiral Sportmaster 21. This one is a bit of a mystery. Likely a 60s or 70s Swiss piece. Let me know if you know this brand or the value. It's running and hands work, so that is a big plus. If I had to guess, value is around $20 to $40. Interesting watch. This one is named Unique, analog digital style with a tachymeter scale. Interesting layout, but yeah, very much a generic watch. Condition is quite rough, lots of wear on the bezel and case. Value-wise, this is probably $5 if it's working. This one is a Tivo 17 Joules. Tivo is a Swiss brand originating from Grenchen, and these watches were likely sold mainly in the Nordic market. This brand is not very known among collectors, so in this condition, value is about $5. Well, okay then. We're just going to skip this one. Next. Mercedes, generic watch with a logo edit and missing the crown. Value about $1, and that comes from the expansion bracelet. Focus 89. The display on this seems to be broken. There is no value in this one. Well, $1 if you repurpose the expansion bracelet. Rest is just along for the ride. Oriole. If I remember correctly, this is one of those brands sold by Lidl grocery stores in Europe. No real value in this one, just a basic watch. Okay, this one seems to be broken. Helvetia, vintage Swiss brand dating back to the late 1800s. They made a lot of solid mid-tier mechanical watches over the years. This one has a clean dial and the case looks good. It is stamped Plaqué G10 and EPSA. That means the case was made by Erwin Piqueres, a well-known Swiss case maker. They also made those famous compressor cases used by bigger brands. Unfortunately, this one is missing the crown, so it's not usable as it sits. In working order, this could be around a $100 watch. A nice project piece with a lot of potential. Cardinal. If I remember correctly, this is a Canadian brand that used some Soviet movements at some point. This one is quartz though, and in pretty rough shape. No idea on value, so I'll just say $1. Certina, solid Swiss brand. This is a simple quartz watch with a clean design. This is a $10 watch. Quick wrist check. This is a Seiko 5 automatic GMT. Really like this one. The orange dial just stands out so well. You get that GMT function, a solid automatic movement, and classic Seiko reliability. And honestly, the stock bracelet on this is really good, super comfortable. Great everyday watch. Okay, wow. Nope. Next. Citizen 7. Small dress watch with a gold-plated integrated bracelet. Classic 80s style, and Citizen used the 7 name on these around the late 70s into the 80s. Serial starts with 301, so January 1983. I'd say this is worth about $20. Nice little watch. HSD on this one. Looks like some kind of football themed novelty watch with those red and blue hands. No idea if it's tied to any actual team though. Value is just a few dollars. Yeah, More of a fun piece than anything else. This one seems to be a no-name quartz watch. Nothing special brand-wise, but the dial actually looks pretty nice with those diamond markers. Bracelet is decent too. Value maybe around $2. Decorative case on this one, and yeah, it feels very light and cheap. Orientex, some kind of Orient wannabe watch. Not a real brand, just a generic modern Chinese piece. Value-wise, probably just a few dollars, more for looks than anything else. Temptation. Very much a fashion watch, nothing really behind the brand. Condition is pretty rough, so I don't see any value in this one. Nice little Seiko automatic here. Women's model with a clean vintage look. High beat movement, which is a nice bonus. Crystal is scratched, but nothing serious. Should clean up well. These in working condition are worth about $40. And it's running. Another Finnish market area watch. After a cleanup, maybe $5. This one is Cini, which is a Swiss brand from the early 1900s, started by 4 brothers, with the name coming from the last letters of their names. This one looks to be from the 60s. 17 jewels with Inca block, so a proper vintage mechanical piece. Condition is a bit worn. Dial has some aging and scratches on the crystal. It is running, which is good. Value around $40. Nice vintage piece that should clean up well. Okay, there are so many watches in this lot that we're going to have to split this into a series of videos. Once everything is sorted through, I'll deduct the value of the non-working pieces and the cost of batteries to see how this deal really turned out. But yeah, it's already looking really good. If you enjoyed this kind of content, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.